Mambo Team Africa Worldwide, Habarya Sibui, Habarya Muchana, Habarya Gioni. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Once again, it's your brother, Konate. I'm from the D, and today in the D, which is Detroit, Michigan, for those who don't know, we have the African World Festival going on. It was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so today is the last day. So I have on my traditional garb that I obtained from Mombasa, Kenya, and I'm going to roll out there and hang out with the family for a couple hours before I get back to my hustle. But I'm just going to make this short and sweet. This video is about African Americans changing their surnames, legally changing their surnames. Before I get into the details of how to go about that, I just want to go into a little bit of history that I think we should all know. These names like Johnson, Smith, and Wilson, and Jackson, and Harris, and White, and Green, and all these types of names are European names. So how are we going to be African Americans with European names? The reason that we have these names is because of slavery. That's the only reason why we have these names. When our ancestors were taken from Africa, and even the ones who may have already been here were kidnapped and enslaved, the first thing that was done to them was they were stripped of their names. And so when they were emancipated, they either carried the name of their former plantation owner, or they just grabbed a European name because that's all they knew. The very smart African Americans named themselves Freeman. And so whenever I meet a brother or sister named Freeman, I know that they had some ancestors that had some forethought. Basically, what we have to understand is that we are under a spell. That's why we can't get our stuff together. If you ever wonder, man, why can't black people ever do right? You know, you find yourself saying that it's because we're under a spell. We're not our natural selves. We're speaking somebody else's language. We're praying to somebody else's God. We are answering to somebody else's name. So the first thing you want to do to get your mind and your spirit right is to change your name. I'm not necessarily saying change your first name that your mother and father gave you. I did that at one time, but there's benefits to having that name as far as socializing with people and as far as doing business. But your surname, that's a name that is related to ancestry. When a person sees your last name on a piece of paper, they should know your background. I can look at a name on a piece of paper, and I can usually tell if that person is Chinese, if that person is Italian, if that person is Polish. But when it comes to Anglo-Saxon or British last names, you don't know if that person is black or white because so many black people have these last names. And some people will say, well, that will get my job application thrown out. Well, so what? You don't want to work for an organization that thinks like that. If African surname is going to get your job application thrown out, that's probably somebody somewhere you don't want to work anyway. But in order to change your name, it doesn't have anything to do with your religion, because often when people find out I changed my name, they ask me about my religion, which I'm not going to state at this time. But some people change their names because they've changed their religion. But that has nothing to do with why I changed my name, and that has nothing to do why African Americans should change their names. You should change your name out of respect for your ancestors. Your ancestor who was first to come here, the one whose surname you would have had he not been stripped of that name, he would be so offended to know that you are carrying an European name. They are rolling over in their graves knowing that we are still answering to the names of their oppressors. If they had a choice, they would have kept their names. And so you got to know, a lot of times our families don't understand. And so I'm really appealing this to younger black people, because I know people who have gotten older are probably not going to do it, and people who, especially if they've had children, they've named their children with these surnames as well. But young people who do not have children, or if you're young and you have children but your child is still of young age and hasn't gotten used to that name yet, change your name and your child's surname. You don't need a lawyer. It's very easy to do. The method might be slightly different depending on what state or county you're in, but you basically go to the court. Some courts is through the probate court, and you just ask around, how do you do it? You can go online and you can print off the forms ahead of time. You usually have to petition the court. You petition the court for an order of name change. So you fill out a form. It takes 5 minutes to fill out the form stating, filling out your current information and what you want your new name to be. If they feel like that's a name, that is bad, such as curse words, then, they may object. But other than that, this system, they don't care at this point about you changing your name, because your social security number is going to follow you anyway. So when you change your name, your license, you change your name. On your passport, you change your name. On your social security card. And all of this, it may seem like a lot to do, but the freedom that it will give to your spirit and your mind is worth it. It doesn't cost that much. You just fill out the paperwork, like I said. It might cost, when I did it, was many years ago, back in 1994. I think I paid maybe like $50, but maybe it's $100 now. But it's not a lot of money. And you petition the court, you fill out the paperwork. The times I changed my name, I did not have to appear in court. I just waited some time for the judge to review the paperwork, and then they issue a name change order. Once you get that name change order, then you can go to the agencies that give you the documents that I mentioned beforehand, such as your driver's license and your social security card and your passport and whatnot. Some places won't change your birth certificate, but that's not a big deal. You probably want that birth certificate to stay the same anyway, just for a state's right. If your parents or grandparents pass, you might need that original birth certificate. Will make it easier for you as far as receiving gifts from a will and things of that nature. It might make it a little bit easier if you have your original birth certificate. So you might not want to change that, but you can if you want. But like I said, a lot of older people, like your parents or grandparents, they might not understand, and they might think that you are disrespecting them and you're disrespecting the family, because they don't understand that that's not their real name. They've become attached to these names like Johnson and Williams and Walker and all of these names. They've become attached to those names emotionally, but it's still not their names, and they don't get it. And you just have to suck up that tension. I went through it for years. Like I said, I changed my name in 1994, and I make my family respect my name, and that's just what it is. Because somebody told me that I was disrespecting my father by changing my name. And I explained to them, if it wasn't for my ancestors, I wouldn't have a father. So I have to respect my parents, my elders, and my ancestors. You know, so, and maybe your family will follow your lead. If they do, that's great. If they don't, then that's okay. But do what you got to do, because we have to make certain changes in order to break the spell that the devil has over us. And so that's all I got to say right now. I'm about to go out to the Charles Wright Museum in Midtown Detroit for the African World Fest, and then enjoy me some refreshments and kick it with the family. So if you like my videos, I always forget to say this. If you like my videos, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Share my videos. Hit the bell so you will be notified when I upload new videos. Okay, and with that, I'm going to say Kwaheri Kwasasa.